The morning sun cast long shadows across the orbital station Liberty Prime as Ambassador Jake Morrison reviewed the mysterious transmission for the 100th time. The signal had arrived 3 days ago from beyond the outer planets, carrying a message that would change everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the universe. Jake stood in the main communications bay, watching his team of linguists and scientists work frantically to decode the alien language. Dr. Alex Turner, Earth's leading expert on theoretical xenobiology, looked up from his workstation with exhausted eyes. "We've got it, Jake," Alex said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The translation is complete." Jake felt his stomach tighten as he read the decoded message on the main screen. The words were simple but terrifying. "Greetings, primitive species of the third planet. You will surrender your world and submit to integration into the Zephyrian Collective within 72 hours. Resistance will result in complete annihilation. You have been warned." Captain Lisa Rodriguez, commanding the defense frigate New York, had been monitoring communications from her position near the station. She moved closer to Jake, her face pale but determined. "Sir, our long-range sensors are picking up massive energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. Whatever sent that message, they're not bluffing about having the power to back it up." Jake activated the emergency channel to Earth's government. Within minutes, President Helen Brooks appeared on the screen from the White House Situation Room. Behind her stood General Robert Clay, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and Admiral Patricia Wells, commander of the Space Defense Force. "Mr. Ambassador," President Brooks said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation, "we've received your report. What's your assessment of the threat level?" Before Jake could answer, the communication system crackled to life with an incoming transmission. The main screen filled with the image of an alien creature unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. The being stood nearly 8 feet tall with gray-blue skin and 4 arms. Its eyes were completely black, and when it spoke, its voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "I am War Commander Thex Val of the Zephyrian Collective," the alien said. "Your species has exactly 69 hours and 14 minutes remaining to surrender. To demonstrate our capabilities, observe." The transmission switched to an external view of space near Jupiter. 3 unmanned research satellites that had been studying the gas giant's moons suddenly erupted in brilliant flashes of light. The aliens had destroyed them with surgical precision from a distance of over 400 million miles. War Commander Thex Val reappeared on the screen. "This is but a fraction of our power. Your primitive vessels and weapons cannot hope to challenge our superiority. You will order all military forces to stand down and prepare for integration. Your leaders will present themselves for processing. Resistance is futile and will only result in unnecessary suffering." The transmission ended, leaving an oppressive silence in the communications bay. Jake looked around at his team, seeing fear mixed with determination in their faces. Captain Rodriguez was the first to speak. "Integration," she said, her voice filled with disgust. "They're not talking about diplomacy or treaties. They want to make us slaves." Dr. Turner pulled up data from the transmission on his screen. "I've been analyzing their language patterns and body language. These beings view us the same way we might view cattle or sheep. To them, we're not sentient beings worthy of respect. We're animals to be domesticated." President Brooks leaned forward on the screen. "Ambassador Morrison, I need your honest assessment. Is there any possibility of negotiation?" Jake studied the data one more time before answering. "Madam President, based on everything we've observed, these aliens have no interest in negotiation. They've done this before to other species. The message was a formality, not an opening for discussion. They expect complete submission or they'll wipe us out." General Clay stepped into view. "How long do we have to prepare?" "Less than 70 hours now," Jake replied. "But sir, I don't think time is our biggest problem. According to our sensor readings, they have at least 50 ships out there, each one larger than anything we've ever built." Admiral Wells spoke for the first time. "Mr. Ambassador, I want you and your team to evacuate Liberty Prime immediately. If we're going to fight, we can't risk losing our best diplomatic minds in the opening battle." "Respectfully, Admiral," Jake said, "we're staying. If this is humanity's first war with an alien species, Then Earth's representatives should be here to witness it. Captain Rodriguez moved to Jake's side. The New York will provide escort and protection for the station. We might not be the biggest ship in the fleet, but we'll hold the line. Over the next 40 hours, the solar system transformed into a massive military staging area. Ships that had been scattered across the asteroid belt mining operations rushed back toward Earth. The lunar defense platforms powered up weapons that had never been tested in actual combat. On Earth's surface, billions of people watched the skies and waited. Dr. Turner worked without sleep, trying to learn everything possible about the alien technology from their transmissions. "Jake," he called out, "I think I've found something important." Their ships use some kind of energy shielding, but the power signatures suggest they might be vulnerable to concentrated kinetic strikes. "Kinetic strikes?" Captain Rodriguez asked. "Old-fashioned projectiles," Turner explained. "Bullets, missiles, anything physical moving at high speed. Their shields might be designed to stop energy weapons, not solid objects." Jake felt a spark of hope. "How confident are you in this assessment?" "Maybe 60%, Turner admitted. "But it's better than nothing." The final 12 hours passed like a nightmare. Long-range sensors detected the alien fleet moving into the outer solar system. The ships were massive, each one dwarfing Earth's largest vessels. But as the fleet drew closer, something unexpected happened. Captain Rodriguez was monitoring her tactical display when she noticed something odd. "Jake, look at this. Their formation is loose, almost casual. They're not treating this like a battle. They're approaching like they're coming to collect livestock." War Commander Thexval appeared on screens throughout the solar system for his final transmission. "Primitive humans, your time has expired. You have not responded with surrender, so we must assume you choose resistance. This is unfortunate, but not unexpected. Prepare for subjugation." President Brooks appeared on every human communication channel at the same moment. "People of Earth, today we face our greatest challenge. An alien empire has demanded our surrender and threatened to destroy us if we refuse. I speak for all humanity when I say that we will not bow to tyranny, whether it comes from Earth or the stars. We are free people, and we will remain free. To our military forces throughout the solar system, you have authorization to engage the enemy. Show them what humans are capable of when they fight for their homes and their freedom." Jake watched as the alien fleet closed in on Earth's outer defenses. In just a few hours, humanity would face its first battle with an alien species. Win or lose, nothing would ever be the same again. The war for Earth's freedom was about to begin. The first alien plasma bolt struck Luna Base's outer shield at exactly 0347 hours Earth time. Colonel Jack Peters watched from the command center as the energy barrier flared bright blue and held. Around him, his defense team worked frantically at their stations while alarms blared throughout the lunar facility. "All fighters launch immediately," Jack ordered into his communicator. "This is not a drill." Captain Amy Foster was already strapping herself into her fighter when the base shook from the second impact. She had trained for this moment her entire career, but nothing could have prepared her for the sight that greeted her as she launched from the underground hangar. 50 massive alien ships hung in space like dark metal mountains, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly light. "Dragon Squadron, form up on me," Amy called to her pilots. "Remember what Dr. Turner said about their shields. Hit them hard and fast with kinetic rounds." The human fighters were tiny compared to the alien vessels, but they moved with deadly precision. Amy led her squadron in a diving attack on the nearest enemy ship. The aliens seemed almost surprised by the speed and aggression of the human response. Admiral Kexthor stood on the command bridge of his flagship, watching the primitive human vessels approach with what could only be described as amusement. In 300 years of conquest, no species had ever launched such a reckless attack against overwhelming odds. Most civilized races would have attempted to negotiate or flee when faced with the collective's superior firepower. "Swat them aside," Kexthor commanded his weapons officer. "These insects are merely delaying the inevitable." But as the alien energy weapons fired, something unexpected happened. The human fighters didn't retreat or scatter as every other species had done. Instead, they pressed their attack even harder. Amy Foster's squadron dove through the alien fire like wolves attacking a bear, their kinetic weapons punching holes. through shields that were designed to stop energy blasts. Back on Luna Base, Colonel Peters coordinated the defense while monitoring reports from across the solar system. The news was both terrible and inspiring. The aliens had overwhelming firepower, but human forces were fighting with a ferocity that seemed to shock their enemies. "Colonel," his communications officer called out, "we're getting reports from the asteroid belt. Commander Steve Walsh says his evacuation fleet is under attack, but they're fighting back with converted mining ships." Commander Walsh gripped the command chair of his transport vessel as another alien blast rocked the ship. Around him, civilian evacuation ships fled toward the inner planets while his improvised defense force tried to buy them time. His wife, Dr. Kim Walsh, was somewhere in that fleeing convoy, heading for the underground research facility beneath Denver, where she hoped to find a way to counter the alien technology. "Mining ship Colorado, this is Walsh," Steve called over the radio. "Target their weapon ports with your mass drivers. Don't let them get a clean shot at the civilians." The mining ship Colorado had been hauling asteroid ore just days ago. Now its cargo bay was filled with tungsten rods that shot from electromagnetic launchers at incredible speeds. When the first rod struck an alien ship's hull, it punched through like a needle through paper. The alien vessel staggered under the impact, its perfect formation disrupted. For the first time in the battle, Admiral Kex Thor felt something he had not experienced in decades: uncertainty. Captain Lisa Rodriguez watched the battle unfold from her position near Liberty Prime Station. Her ship, the New York, was heavily outgunned, but she had an idea that might turn the tide. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Ben Parker, had discovered something crucial about the alien vessels. "Captain," Ben reported, "our quantum radar is picking up their ships even through their stealth fields. Their cloaking technology wasn't designed to hide from our type of sensors." "Understood," Lisa replied. "Signal all ships in the area. We can see them when they can't see us. That gives us an advantage." The New York moved silently through space, using its quantum radar to track the alien command ship while remaining invisible to their sensors. Lisa knew this would likely be a one-way mission, but the intelligence they gathered could save countless lives. On Earth, President Brooks watched the battle from the Emergency Command Center deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain. The reports coming in painted a picture that defied all military logic. Human forces were taking massive casualties, but they were also inflicting damage on an enemy that had expected easy victory. General Clay stood beside her, coordinating the global response. "Madam President, our pilots are reporting that the aliens seem confused by our tactics. They're not used to fighting an enemy that gets more aggressive when losing." Admiral Wells added her own observations from the Space Defense Command. "The alien formation is starting to break down. They came here expecting to face a civilized opponent who would surrender when outmatched. Instead, they're fighting humans." Back in space, Captain Foster's squadron had taken heavy losses, but they had also crippled 2 alien ships. As she lined up for another attack run, her radio crackled with reports from across the battle zone. Human forces were fighting desperately everywhere, and somehow they were making the aliens pay for every inch of space. The alien war commander Thex Val appeared on Admiral Kex Thor's private channel, his forearms gesturing in what their species used to express frustration. "Admiral, what is the delay? Your reports indicated this species would surrender after minimal resistance." "Commander," Kex Thor replied carefully, "these humans are unlike any species we have encountered. They fight with complete disregard for odds or losses. When we destroy their ships, the survivors ram us with the wreckage. When we threaten their civilians, their military forces attack even more fiercely." Captain Rodriguez saw her chance as the alien command ship moved into range. The New York was badly damaged from the fighting, her crew reduced to half strength. But Lisa had one last card to play. "All crew to escape pods," she ordered. "I'm going to ram their flagship." Lieutenant Commander Parker refused to leave. "Captain, let me stay and help guide us in." "Ben, get to the pods. That's an order." "Respectfully, Captain, I'm not leaving. These aliens need to learn what happens when they threaten Earth." The New York accelerated toward the alien flagship at maximum speed. Admiral Kex Thor watched in disbelief as the small human ship approached on what could only be a suicide run. No civilized species would sacrifice valuable vessels and trained crews in such a manner. The collision tore through both ships in a brilliant explosion that lit up the solar system. The alien flagship broke apart, taking 3 escort vessels with it in the secondary explosions. The remaining alien fleet, leaderless and confused, began to withdraw toward the outer planets. On Luna base, Colonel Peters received the withdrawal signal with mixed emotions. They had won the first battle, but the cost had been enormous. More importantly, this was clearly just the beginning. The aliens would return with a better understanding of human capabilities and determination. Dr. Turner contacted Jake Morrison on Liberty Prime with urgent news. Jake, I've been analyzing the battle data. The aliens aren't just surprised by our tactics. They're genuinely confused by our behavior. Their entire military doctrine is based on fighting rational opponents who surrender when defeat is certain. What does that mean for us? Jake asked. It means we have something they don't understand and can't counter, Turner replied. We have the willingness to die for our freedom. That terrifies them more than any weapon we could build. As the alien fleet disappeared beyond Neptune, humanity began to count the cost of their first victory. They had lost ships, bases, and thousands of brave people. But they had also sent a message that would echo across the galaxy. Earth would not surrender, no matter the odds. 6 months had passed since the first battle, and the war had settled into a deadly pattern of strike and counterstrike throughout the solar system. Marine Colonel Pete Harrison floated in the airlock of his assault ship, checking his equipment. One final time before the most dangerous mission humanity had ever attempted. Remember, we need prisoners and intact technology, Pete told his squad through the comm system. The scientists back home are desperate for anything that can help us understand how these aliens think and fight. The target was a damaged Zephyrian cruiser that had been drifting near the asteroid belt for 3 weeks. Human scouts had confirmed that the ship was still occupied but operating on minimal power. It was the perfect opportunity for the first successful boarding action of the war. Sergeant Maria Santos checked her rifle and nodded to her colonel. Sir, the boys are ready. Let's show these aliens what human Marines can do up close. The assault team launched from their ship in small boarding pods, approaching the alien vessel from its blind spots. Pete had studied every scrap of intelligence about Zephyrian ship design, looking for weaknesses they could exploit. The aliens built their ships for space combat, not for repelling boarders who might already be inside. Back on Earth, Dr. Nina Clark worked frantically in her laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains. She had been studying fragments of alien technology recovered from the first battle, trying to understand how their advanced weapons functioned. Her husband, Navy Captain Dan Clark, stood beside her workstation, volunteering once again to test her latest discovery. Nina, are you sure about this? Dan asked, looking at the strange headset she had constructed from alien components. The last test nearly fried my brain. Dan, this could change everything, Nina replied, her voice filled with excitement and fear. I think I understand how their targeting systems work. They use quantum frequencies that somehow sync with neural patterns. But here's the incredible part. Human brains can actually predict and counter those frequencies if we train them properly. The neural interface headset looked like something from a science fiction movie, covered in alien crystals and human electronics wired together. Nina had been working on it for months, trying to create a bridge between human intuition and alien technology. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt, mining engineer Tony Garcia supervised the conversion of industrial equipment into weapons of war. His team had been working around the clock to turn ore processing facilities into military production centers. The mining ships that once hauled rocks now carried deadly cargo. Tony, the new mass driver, is ready for testing, called out his assistant, a young engineer named Bobby Kim. We've increased the velocity by 30% since the last batch. Tony watched as the electromagnetic launcher sent a tungsten rod screaming toward a distant asteroid. The impact created a crater visible from their observation post 20 miles away. These improvised weapons had proven devastatingly effective against alien shields during the early battles. Good work, Bobby, Tony said. Load up 50 more and get them to the fleet. Our boys out there need every advantage we can give them. Colonel Harrison's boarding party had successfully breached the alien ship's hull and was fighting their way, through narrow corridors designed for creatures much taller than humans. The aliens inside were wounded and desperate, but they still fought with the disciplined precision of professional soldiers. "Contact front," Sergeant Santos called out as her squad encountered the first group of defenders. The aliens were armed, with energy weapons that could melt through human armor, but they seemed confused by the humans' small size and aggressive tactics. Pete pushed forward through the firefight, looking for the ship's command center. Intelligence suggested that alien computers might contain valuable information about their empire's structure and military capabilities. Every piece of data could save human lives in future battles. The alien defenders fell back through the ship, regrouping at critical positions. Pete noticed something important about their behavior. They fought bravely but without the desperate fury that characterized human combat. They seemed to view the battle as a professional duty rather than a fight for survival. Dr. Clark's neural interface experiment was reaching a critical moment. Dan sat in the testing chair while Nina monitored his brain patterns through a dozen different sensors. The alien technology was interfacing with his nervous system in ways that human science barely understood. "Nina, something's happening," Dan said, his voice strange and distant. "I can see the quantum frequencies. They're like patterns in my mind, and I think I can predict where they're going." On the monitoring equipment, Nina watched in amazement as Dan's brain activity synchronized with the alien technology. For the first time, a human mind was operating at the same speed as alien computers. The implications were staggering. Colonel Harrison reached the alien command center to find 3 Zephyrian officers waiting for him. Unlike the desperate defenders, throughout the ship, these aliens seemed calm and almost curious about their human captors. The senior officer, identifiable by additional markings on his uniform, spoke in broken English. "You fight strangely, human warriors," the alien said. "We have conquered 47 worlds, but never have we faced soldiers who become more dangerous when injured." Pete kept his rifle trained on the aliens while his team secured the command center. "We're taking you prisoner. Cooperate and you won't be harmed." "Prisoner," the alien repeated as if the concept was foreign. "Other species kill their defeated enemies or flee from superior force. You capture us to learn from us. This is not behavior we understand." Sergeant Santos worked quickly to download data from the alien computers while Pete questioned the prisoners. The information they were gathering painted a disturbing picture of the Zephyrian collective's true scope and power. Back in her laboratory, Dr. Clark was recording the first successful test of human-alien neural interface technology. Dan's enhanced reflexes allowed him to dodge simulated alien weapons fire with incredible precision. The quantum frequency prediction system was working beyond her wildest hopes. "Nina, this is incredible," Dan said, removing the headset after the test. "With this technology, our pilots could outmaneuver anything the aliens have. But there's something else. I could sense the alien computer's confusion when I countered its targeting system. It's like their machines aren't programmed to handle truly unpredictable opponents." The intelligence gathered from the captured alien ship revealed something that shocked the human command structure. The Zephyrian collective had detailed psychological profiles of 47 conquered species, but their analysis of human behavior was completely wrong. They had classified humans as a typical carbon-based species that would surrender when faced with superior technology. President Brooks reviewed the alien files in her secure briefing room, accompanied by General Clay and Admiral Wells. The documents showed that every other species had followed predictable patterns of resistance and eventual submission. Humans were the first to break that pattern. According to their records, General Clay reported, no species has ever continued fighting after losing more than 10% of their military forces. We've lost 30%, and we're still attacking them. Admiral Wells added her own analysis of the alien tactical reports. They're requesting reinforcements from their homeworld, not because they can't defeat us, but because their soldiers are becoming demoralized by our fighting methods. Colonel Harrison's team successfully evacuated the captured alien ship with 3 prisoners and massive amounts of intelligence data. As they departed, Pete looked back at the disabled vessel and realized they had accomplished something unprecedented. Humans had boarded and captured an alien warship. The prisoners were taken to a secure facility where Dr. Turner began the delicate process of learning about alien psychology and culture. The senior officer, who identified himself as Ship Commander Vex Kane, proved surprisingly willing to answer questions. "Your species confuses us greatly," Vex Kane told Dr. Turner during their first interview. "We have studied your radio transmissions and know you fight among yourselves constantly. Yet when faced with external threat, you unite with remarkable speed. This is not logical behavior." Dr. Turner realized they had stumbled onto something crucial. The aliens' entire military doctrine was based on fighting rational opponents who made logical decisions about survival. Humans, who often acted on emotion and principle rather than cold logic, represented a completely new type of enemy. As winter approached on Earth, the war continued across the solar system with neither side able to claim decisive victory. But humanity had learned valuable lessons about their enemies and themselves. They were not just fighting for survival anymore. They were proving that courage and determination could challenge even the most advanced military technology in the galaxy. 2 years into the war, Admiral Robert Clay stood on the bridge of humanity's first deep space battleship, the Constitution, watching the stars change as they traveled faster than light using captured alien technology. The human fleet had grown, from desperate defenders to bold attackers, ready to take the fight beyond the solar system for the first time. Captain Frank Miller, commanding the Constitution, monitored the navigation displays with nervous excitement. "Admiral, we're approaching the Kepler system. Long-range sensors confirm the alien presence at our former research station." The Kepler station had been humanity's first attempt at interstellar exploration, established just 3 years before the war began. The aliens had captured it early in the conflict, turning Earth's peaceful research outpost into a military stronghold. Now humanity was coming to take it back. Dr. Rachel Moore worked at her station in the ship's medical bay, making final adjustments to the neural interface headsets that had revolutionized human combat capabilities. Her test pilot, Commander Paul Evans, sat patiently as she calibrated the quantum frequency predictors that allowed human minds to think at alien speeds. "Paul, remember that your brain is still human even with the interface," Rachel warned. "Don't push the system beyond safe limits. We need you alive to train other pilots." Commander Evans nodded, though his enhanced reflexes had already begun, processing the conversation faster than normal human thought. The neural interface technology had created a new breed of human warrior, capable of matching alien reaction times while retaining the unpredictable creativity that made humans so dangerous. Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Brown reviewed the assault plans in the ship's briefing room. Her combined arms force included Marines, spaceborne infantry, and technical specialists trained to fight in zero-gravity environments. The mission was complex. They needed to capture Kepler Station intact while freeing any human prisoners who might still be alive. "The station has been modified with alien defensive systems," Nancy explained to her unit commanders. "But our intelligence suggests they haven't changed the basic structure. We know every corridor and maintenance shaft in that facility." Engineer Carlos Ruiz studied the technical specifications of Kepler Station's power systems. His job was to infiltrate the facility from the outside and disable the alien modifications while the assault teams created a distraction. It was dangerous work that required him to spacewalk across the station's hull while under enemy fire. "Colonel Brown, I can shut down their shields and weapons if you give me 20 minutes, Carlos said. "But once I start cutting into their systems, they'll know exactly where I am." The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system, immediately detecting the alien defensive positions around the captured station. Admiral Clay was surprised to see only 12 alien ships guarding the facility. Intelligence had suggested a much larger force. Captain Julie Adams, commanding the stealth ship Philadelphia, used her advanced sensors to scan the system for hidden threats. Her vessel incorporated the best of human and alien technology, capable of remaining invisible while gathering crucial intelligence. "Admiral, I'm detecting something unusual," Julie reported over the secure channel. "There are non-Zephyrian ships in the system. The energy signatures don't match anything in our database." As the human fleet approached Kepler Station, they received an unexpected transmission on an emergency frequency. The voice was human, speaking English with a slight accent that suggested non-Earth origin. Human fleet. This is Commander Shara Keth of the Valdorian Liberation Front. We have been monitoring your approach. Request permission to coordinate our attack on the Zephyrian occupation force. Admiral Clay stared at the communication display in shock. The voice belonged to an alien, but she was speaking for a liberation front fighting against the same enemy that threatened Earth. The implications were staggering. Commander Shara Keth, this is Admiral Clay of the Earth Defense Force. Are you saying that other species are rebelling against the Zephyrian collective? Correct, Admiral, came the reply. News of human resistance has spread throughout the conquered worlds. For the first time in 300 years, subject species believe victory over the collective is possible. We request the honor of fighting, alongside the legendary human warriors. The Valdorian ships revealed themselves as they dropped their cloaking fields. They were smaller than Zephyrian vessels, but built for speed and stealth. Captain Miller counted at least 20 alien ships moving to join the human formation. Commander Evans launched from the Constitution in his enhanced fighter, leading a squadron of pilots equipped with neural interface technology. The enhanced humans moved through space with impossible precision, their minds processing information faster than any biological nervous system should allow. Dragon Leader to all pilots, Evans called over the radio. Remember that we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. Half the galaxy is watching to see if freedom can defeat tyranny. Lieutenant Colonel Brown's assault force approached Kepler Station in stealth transports while Engineer Ruiz made his dangerous spacewalk across the facility's hull. The alien defenders were focused on the approaching fleet, unaware that human soldiers were already boarding their stronghold. Carlos reached the station's main power coupling and began cutting through the alien modifications with a plasma torch. Sparks flew in the vacuum of space as he worked to separate human technology from Zephyrian control systems. His suit's proximity alarms warned him that enemy sensors had detected his activity. Colonel Brown, I'm taking fire, Carlos reported, as energy bolts flashed past his position. Starting the shutdown sequence now. The assault teams breached Kepler Station's docking bays just as the alien weapons went offline. Nancy led her Marines through corridors that had once housed peaceful researchers, now converted into military barracks and interrogation facilities. The evidence of alien occupation filled the humans with cold anger. Prisoner block secured, Sergeant Williams reported. Colonel, you need to see this. Nancy found 12 human survivors in the station's detention area, scientists and technicians who had been captured when the aliens first took the facility. But they also found something else, members of 3 different alien species who had been imprisoned for refusing to serve the collective. One of the alien prisoners, a tall being with blue-green skin, spoke to Nancy in careful English. Human warrior, I am research leader Keth Knoll of the Hegemony Worlds. We have been imprisoned here for 18 months after our people declared independence from the collective. Your species has given hope to every slave world in this sector. The battle for Kepler Station lasted only 4 hours. The Zephyrian defenders, caught between human assault teams inside the facility and the combined human Valdorian fleet outside, surrendered after losing half their force. It was the first time in recorded history that Zephyrian troops had surrendered to enemy forces. Commander Shara Keth came aboard the Constitution to meet with Admiral Clay after the battle. The Valdorian was humanoid but taller than most humans, with pale purple skin and large dark eyes that seemed ancient beyond her years. Admiral Clay, my people have fought the collective for 60 years without achieving a single major victory, Shara Keth said. In 2 years, humans have accomplished what we thought impossible. You have shown that the collective can be defeated. Admiral Clay studied the tactical reports from the battle while considering the larger implications. Commander, how many species are currently in rebellion against the collective? 7 worlds have declared independence since news of human resistance reached them, Shara Keth replied. But there are dozens more that wait for proof that victory is truly possible. Today's success will encourage many others to join the fight. Dr. Moore examined the liberated prisoners and made a disturbing discovery. The Zephyrians had been conducting experiments on members of different species, trying to understand what made each race suitable for specific types of labor. Humans were classified as unsuitable for standard integration due to their unpredictable and aggressive nature. They've been trying to figure out how to break human resistance, Moore reported to Admiral Clay. But according to these files, every attempt has failed. They simply cannot understand why we refuse to accept defeat when logic says we should surrender. Commander Evans landed his fighter after the battle, his neural interface still processing combat data at enhanced speeds. The technology had allowed human pilots to outmaneuver alien fighters that should have been vastly superior. More importantly, it had demonstrated that humans could not only match alien capabilities but exceed them through sheer determination. Captain Adams reported from her stealth reconnaissance that Zephyrian reinforcements were already moving toward the Kepler system. The collective was treating the loss of the station as a serious threat to their control over the entire sector. "Admiral, we've got at least 40 enemy ships heading this way," Julie reported. "They'll arrive in approximately 18 hours. Admiral Clay made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. Instead of retreating with their victory, the human fleet would remain at Kepler Station and face the Zephyrian counterattack. They would prove that human forces could hold territory taken from the collective. All ships, prepare for extended combat operati. The final battle for the Zephyrian homeworld began with the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Admiral Carmen Rodriguez, sister of the hero who had died in the first battle 2 years earlier, commanded over 200 ships from 12 different species united against the collective. The massive armada dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyr system, ready to end the war once and for all. General Linda Hayes coordinated the ground invasion from her command ship while Captain Mike Turner prepared the flagship Enterprise for what everyone knew would be the most difficult battle of the war. The Zephyrian homeworld was protected by orbital defense platforms, planetary shields, and the largest concentration of enemy warships in the galaxy. "All ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez," Carmen announced over the fleet communication system. "Today we fight not just for Earth but for every world that dreams of freedom. Show them what happens when free people stand together." Dr. Susan Turner, chief engineer of the Enterprise and wife of Captain Turner, made final preparations for Operation Liberation's secret weapon. Working with captured alien technology and human ingenuity, she had developed a quantum virus capable of disabling Zephyrian computer systems across an entire planet. "Mike, the virus is ready for deployment," Susan reported to her husband on the bridge. "But someone has to get close enough to their central computer network to upload it. That means flying through their heaviest defenses." Major Greg Foster volunteered for the suicide mission without hesitation. His enhanced fighter, equipped with the best stealth technology humanity could produce, would carry the virus to the heart of the enemy capital city. Everyone knew he probably would not survive the mission. "Major Foster, are you certain about this?" Captain Turner asked over the private communication channel. "Sir, I've got a wife and kids back on Earth," Greg replied. "I want them to grow up in a galaxy where freedom means something. If my sacrifice can guarantee that, then it's a fair trade." The battle began when the combined fleet engaged the Zephyrian orbital defenses. Ships from a dozen worlds fought side by side, their different technologies and tactics creating a symphony of destruction that the enemy had never encountered. The Valdorians used speed and stealth, while human vessels relied on kinetic weapons and neural-enhanced pilots. War Commander Thex Val watched the assault from his command center on the planet's surface, finally understanding the true magnitude of what humanity had accomplished. The primitive species that should have surrendered in the first week had instead inspired half the galaxy to rebellion. "Admiral Kex Thor, report your status," Thex Val demanded from the Orbital Defense Commander. "War, Commander, we are being overwhelmed," came the strained reply. "These human tactics have spread to all the rebel species. They fight with complete disregard for acceptable loss ratios. Our entire tactical doctrine is useless against enemies who become more dangerous when wounded." Colonel Chris Martin led the first wave of human Marines to land on the Zephyrian homeworld, fighting through the capital city toward the Imperial Palace, where Thex Val made his final stand. The urban combat was brutal, with alien defenders using their superior technology against human soldiers who refused to be stopped by any obstacle. Sergeant First Class Katie Wilson and her squad moved through the alien city streets, encountering resistance that seemed almost half-hearted compared to the desperate fighting of the early war. Many Zephyrian soldiers had lost the will to fight for an empire that could no longer guarantee victory. "Sergeant Wilson, we're approaching the Palace District," reported Corporal Danny Lee. "Enemy resistance is lighter than expected. I think they're falling back to protect their leadership." Major Foster's stealth fighter penetrated the planetary defenses through a combination of advanced technology and sheer luck. The quantum virus in his cargo bay represented humanity's best hope for ending the war without destroying the Zephyrian civilization entirely. "Enterprise, this is Foster," Greg called over the radio as his fighter approached the central computer complex. "I'm taking heavy fire but still on course, uploading the virus in 30 seconds. Dr. Turner monitored the virus deployment from her engineering station, watching as the quantum code began spreading through the Zephyrian computer network. The virus was designed not to destroy but to disable, shutting down weapons and shields while leaving life support and civilian systems intact. "Mike, it's working," Susan reported excitedly. "Their defense grid is going offline across the entire planet." Admiral Rodriguez seized the opportunity to push her fleet through the collapsing orbital defenses. Human and allied ships poured into the atmosphere, supporting the ground assault with precision strikes that avoided civilian areas. The goal was liberation, not genocide. Colonel Martin reached the Imperial Palace just as the last of the planetary defenses went dark. His Marines faced a final line of elite Zephyrian guards who fought with the disciplined courage of professional soldiers, defending their homeland. War Commander Thex Val emerged from the palace to meet the human colonel personally. The alien leader had discarded his ceremonial armor and carried only a simple sidearm, walking out to face his enemies with dignity and tact. "Human Colonel," Thex Val said in perfect English, "I formally surrender the Zephyrian Collective to your forces. You have accomplished something no species in our recorded history has achieved. You have defeated us completely while maintaining your honor." Chris lowered his weapon, recognizing the moment for what it represented. "War Commander, we didn't come here to destroy your people. We came to end an empire that enslaved the galaxy." Sergeant Wilson and her squad secured the palace complex, while Colonel Martin and War Commander Thex Val walked together through the halls where Zephyrian emperors had planned the conquest of dozens of worlds. The alien commander seemed genuinely curious about the humans who had changed everything. "Colonel Martin, I must ask you something that has puzzled our military analysts throughout this war," Thex Val said. "Why do humans fight harder when facing impossible odds? Every other species becomes more cautious when threatened with extinction." Chris considered the question carefully before answering. "War Commander, when you threaten to destroy everything we love, you give us nothing left to lose. A human with nothing left to lose is the most dangerous creature in the galaxy." The formal surrender ceremony took place in the Zephyrian Senate chamber, with representatives from all the liberated worlds present to witness the end of 3 centuries of imperial domination. Admiral Rodriguez accepted the surrender on behalf of the Galactic Liberation Coalition. Dr. Turner's quantum virus had accomplished its mission perfectly, disabling military systems while preserving the infrastructure needed for peaceful reconstruction. The Zephyrian homeworld would survive as a member of the new galactic community, rather than as a conquered territory. Ambassador Jake Morrison, who had witnessed the war's beginning from Liberty Prime Station, now stood in the alien capital as Earth's representative to the newly formed Galactic Federation. The diplomatic corps that had once prepared for humanity's first contact with aliens now worked to build lasting peace among dozens of worlds. "The Galactic Federation recognizes the sovereignty of all member worlds," Jake announced during the founding ceremony. "Never again will one species dominate another through military force." Commander Shara Keth of the Valdorians spoke for all the liberated species when she addressed the assembly. "Humans taught us that freedom is worth any sacrifice, and that courage can overcome any advantage. We pledge to defend these principles throughout the galaxy." 5 years after the war's end, Captain Julie Adams commanded the exploration vessel Horizon, leading joint human-alien crews to map uncharted systems and make contact with new species. The galaxy had become a place of cooperation rather than conquest. with humanity serving as the military backbone that protected smaller worlds from future threats. War Commander Thex Val, now serving as an advisor to the Federation Council, often spoke with human leaders about the lessons learned from the war. The former enemy had become an advocate for the principles that humanity had fought to defend. "Admiral Rodriguez, your species accomplished something remarkable," Thex Val told Carmen during one of their regular meetings. "You proved that military technology means nothing without the will to fight for something greater than yourself." The HFY Memorial on Earth honored the thousands who had died in humanity's first interstellar war. But it also celebrated the birth of galactic freedom. Children from a dozen worlds played together in the memorial gardens, growing up in a universe where species worked together instead of conquering each other. Dr. Turner's quantum virus technology had been adapted for peaceful purposes, allowing instant communication between worlds separated by vast distances. The same innovation that had won the war now connected the galaxy in ways that made future conflicts less likely. Ambassador Morrison often reflected on how far humanity had come. From that first terrifying contact with alien intelligence, the species that had once threatened to enslave Earth now worked alongside humans to explore new frontiers and protect the weak from the strong. The galaxy had learned that true strength came not from superior weapons or advanced technology, but from the courage to stand up for principles even when facing impossible odds. Huma,